Hey everybody, Myles here. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be working on a self-portrait of sorts that I decided to make really just because I haven't done one in a while. I was once told in art school by one of my professors that you should do a new self-portrait every year. So for this year, this is mine. I've been working a lot with watercolor this year because I've been doing a lot of commission work, and that's usually what people ask me to do. So because of that, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with the medium and wanted to share some of my skills here. For this particular piece, I was really influenced by a particular artist. Her name is Marian Bolognese, and I'll show her work on the screen right now. She does these awesome watercolor portraits that focus all their attention on the eyes, nose, and sometimes the mouth. They rarely have the shape of the face at all. There's almost never a hairline. And I really wanted to try and challenge myself by making this portrait of myself in the same way she did, while using as minimal detail as possible outside of the main features of the face. Without further ado, let's get into the drawing. So this is actually a style that I've attempted to paint in before. A long time ago, I did a series of drawings following the same sort, very loose watercolor style, but I just don't think that I really had the skill at the time to pull it off. I know I've expressed this in my videos before, but the way I work is very rigid. I am not a very carefree person when it comes to painting. Everything is kind of meticulously thought out and planned beforehand. And so watercolor in general was actually a pretty big challenge for me to get into. Now, by the time of doing this drawing, I obviously have had a lot more experience using watercolor, and so I felt like I could finally do something more free, like this sort of very wet on wet media. The way Marian seems to do a lot of these paintings involves a lot of what I would assume to be blotchy wet on wet painting, letting it dry, and then going over it with more layers in different colors. It sort of seems like she doesn't particularly care what happens with the paint as it goes, and I think that's what makes it so beautiful. There's a lot of visual appeal in seeing the watercolors sort of spread out across the page like that. Another key part of this piece, and as well as the way Marian paints, would be that a lot of her pieces seem to be crying, and I really wanted to do that same sort of thing here, as the inspiration for this piece was to really make a self-portrait that not only reflected myself, but reflected this year as a whole. 2020 has been a nightmare for most people, and I wanted to reflect that not with just myself, but to have some sort of visual representation for the things that everyone was experiencing as well. It's been a terrible year full of heartache and loss and people fighting for basic equality we thought we'd achieved a long time ago. I wanted to create a face that could show those emotions. 2020 has been a nightmare for the world and an unimaginable horror for so many more. We've been sick and bruised with tears in our eyes, fighting things many don't see and others see every day. We've set ablaze fires and hate and demand of reform. We've exposed the intolerances of modern America. Portrait in 2020 was made as a reflection of the feelings the world sees today. Remember this, and when you look into the piece's eyes, see the beauty of a future to come. That is a poem that I wrote about this piece, about what's happened this year, about why this piece was created, and just so when you look at it, you can remember. What started out as me wanting to do a simple self-portrait turned into one that was a lot more emotional, a lot more expressive, and in my opinion, a lot more meaningful. It was interesting for me to be able to paint this way and to focus so little on anything except the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Even the area around it are so abstracted, and yet somehow when I look at it, I really do still feel like it looks like me. On a lighter note, you'll notice that there are a few zoomed in clips as I go through this. And you also might notice that my phone gets in the way a couple times. As I record many of these pieces, I record things for TikToks as well. And this time I decided to include some of the footage that I use from TikTok as well, just because I thought it would be nice to see a close-up version of what I was working on every once in a while. I'm still getting kind of a grip on how I want to set up my camera, my microphone, and everything on here again, just so it can look as professional as possible for you guys watching at home. So you might notice a couple times that the camera appears to be a little crooked, and I'm sorry about that. There wasn't much I could do. I didn't really notice until I was finished filming, unfortunately, as I did all of this painting in one day. This has definitely been one of my favorite paintings that I've made in a really long time, and I actually was able to sell it shortly after making it, which was really nice as well. I think it's cool that someone else is going to get to see this and going to get the message that goes with it, and every time they look at it, remember why it was made. I definitely plan to do more pieces like this one in the future as well. A lot of the things that I've been doing on my channel lately are things that take me out of my comfort zone and things that have just been a little different than the things I was doing while I was in art school. And I think that that's really been beneficial to me to grow as an artist. I would have never known how much I enjoyed watercolor, and I would have never known how much I loved painting this way unless I tried it. And I would definitely encourage any artist listening, if you've been doing the same thing for a long time, do something totally different than what you're used to. You have no idea how good it might feel. I've been trying to mix up the sort of things on my channel, although all of it's going to be art related. I'm going to try to sort of switch back and forth between general speed paints and more vlog type footage. So next week, expect something a little different from these last two painting videos and something a little more personal. But for now, I think I'm going to let the music take over for this one as the piece finishes up, and I'll be back to talk to you guys at the end. Alright everyone, well that was it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this painting because I know I did. I think it's actually one of my favorite pieces I've done to date. And I think that I'm going to be trying to do a couple more paintings in this very loose watercolor style as well. I had a lot of fun and it really helps me loosen up as a person who tends to be much more rigid when they draw and paint. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. My socials are listed in the description box below. Please give me a follow on there as well, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye. And I will see you next Wednesday. Bye. Another aspect of her work is typically using colors that are not normally found in the face. So instead of doing someone in their natural skin tone, she might do them all in reds and pinks and purples, or in blues and greens. And I thought this was a really creative and there's lots of drips in her artwork. It's very wet on wet as far as the watercolor application goes, and I thought it was very interesting. I thought it looked very free and loose. And so I really wanted to try doing it myself. So I really wanted to try doing it myself.